So as William Shakespeare says, if music be the food of love, play on. I'd say something fairly similar. Music be the food of love, let's eat it. I'm not William Shakespeare. I'm Alan Partridge. No,
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put it
I'm
down.
drinking coffee, fuck off. Right. We're here to talk about music. Music today. Something probably other than mental health, it's probably the topic that we bombed over, should I say? Quite the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've both got quite a big love for, especially lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you might ask, well, why are you doing a episode on music on a mental health podcast? Like, well, if you can't see how music affects your mental health, then you need to pay a bit more attention.
Yeah.
There's a reason why filmmakers and TV show producers put so much effort into the music that they use, because it's literally designed to like manipulate emotions, really. Like something is scarier when there's a tense up music score over the back of it. It affects the way we feel.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we're talking more about sort of conventional like music, but like it's something that throughout human history we've realized that music makes a massive influence on the way that we're thinking and feeling about things.
It's a powerful tool to express yourself as well. Even if you didn't write the song, it can be used to express how you're feeling.
There's a certain beauty in like an artist who does it for a living, who's got the time to like sit there and put these brilliant lyrics together, and like when they chime with you, you're like, that's exactly how I feel. And it doesn't matter that someone else put it into those words. It really like matters to me. And there's a reason why, again, our generation grew up on like MSN Messenger, and often people's names would be lyrics to songs just to kind of express how we're doing that day.
The lyric captions on your photos. I still do that. I can't lie. I still do. I'm still a naughty Zemo, apparently. But yeah, like, I mean, personally, music is just, I think I might have said this to you before, but it's a question that I quite often say to someone when I first get to know someone, like in any capacity. I'm always like, what would you rather be, blind or deaf? Pick one. Like, you've got to lose one. Either lose your sight or lose your hearing. And a lot of people say I'd rather be deaf, and I'm like, in what world? Because a world like where I don't have music, like that's just not something I want to do. Like I could get by never being able to see again, but not being able to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely 1,000% in agreement with that. As beautiful as the world is, like from a visual perspective, there's literally nothing in the world like music, and it's not something I'm prepared to live without.
I mean, I think as well, both me and you have, the inner monologue, which, to my amazement, a lot of people don't have. I was quite surprised to find that out.
Nearly 50% of people, apparently.
Mental.
It is.
But like, if I was deaf and I couldn't like listen to music and stuff, it's not going to shut me in a monologue up. So that means that the only thing I'm ever going to hear for the rest of my life is my own voice in my head. No, thank you. We don't need that kind of negativity in life. But it really is. I mean, well, obviously we've got a few different shared playlists and stuff, but on my phone and my Spotify, all my playlists are named different things. And I mean, don't get me wrong, if you just looked at them, you wouldn't really know what they were all for, because they're different. A lot of them are different lyrics, like for each playlist. But I know what they're each for, and they're designed to help us process emotion. They're designed to, manipulate my emotions, essentially. Like if I'm feeling really shit about myself, I'm going to put a playlist on that I've got called Burn It Down, which is essentially a playlist full of music that is to give us the motivation to be like, no, like, don't fucking listen to the voice in your head. You've got this. Like, you are a nice person. You are capable of anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
And that's full of the very, like, the kind of lyrics that are like, well, burn it all down and start again.
Yeah. Like, I think like there's like lyrics that you might sort of pass over because of the type of music it is. Like traditionally, sort of pop music. I remember growing up, like being into pop music wasn't really that cool. Listening to like Britney Spears and stuff like that. But like if you actually like read the lyrics of what like the artist is trying to say, like it's very rare that you find, unless it's like literally like a nonsense song that's more for like frivolous reasons. But like every song contains some kind of a message about life, and certain artists like chime more with you than others. But it's like I don't know if you've seen on it was going around TikTok recently where it was the opening lyrics to Mbop by Hanson. Please tell me you know that song. Yeah. Thank God for that.
You look mortified for a split second there.
And I remember that song being out, and it was like, oh, it's just a fun like bop, just like something to like bop around to. But like the intro lyrics to that, someone sort of put them and like emphasized them and put them to like slower music.
Yeah.
And you think, in fact, if this was an actual like, well, it was more of a conventionally kind of. If it was a song that wasn't that song, basically, people would realise kind of like there's a nice little message in there actually. But
you know what I think gets overlooked a lot? The music that's in musicals. That I feel like loads of people love, obviously, music from musicals, but you don't actually listen. Like, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking "Rewrite the Stars" from The Greatest Showman. That's an amazing song.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking "Take Me or Leave Me" from Rent. Take me for what I am, for who I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And baby, if you give a damn, take me or leave me.
Yeah.
And it's like that whole song is literally about like, this is who I am. Like, either accept me for who I am or get fucked, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you not resonate with that song? Like, no matter who you are on an individual level, everybody has a level of like, this is just who I am, like, and it's okay that I am this person. And I think sometimes music it can help pick you up out of a bad mood. It can help you process emotion. Like, well, clearly you have a lot attached to songs because, for instance, I've had 2 very close family members over the last kind of 7 years pass away. I have only, the one who passed away 7 years ago, I only could just listen to her funeral song again for the first time a couple of months ago. And then my dad's funeral song, I knew what it was going to be walking in because it's been his favourite song since it was ever released. And that came on a playlist that I had my summer playlist on, which has been my summer playlist for years. I just add to it.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling, Black Eyed Peas. I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. That came on, and that was his funeral song. And I immediately had to like run to my phone and skip it because I just hadn't resonated in my brain that like I haven't finished processing that yet. Yeah. Whereas my grandma's death, Twist and Shout by the Beatles, I can listen to that now.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long that I've processed their death.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean I don't think anything like sort of encapsulates the sort of the particulars of a relationship you have with someone than like a shared song or a song that reminds you of that person,
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite songs of all time was Dancing with the Moonlit Night by Genesis. Not a lot of people know it, but I just remember the first time my dad played it to me. We were kind of like driving somewhere, and he was like, "Have you heard Genesis before?" I was like, "No." I kind of knew them as the like 3-piece group with Phil Collins as the lead singer, but Genesis used to be like a bigger group with Peter Gabriel as the lead singer, one of my musical heroes actually. And yeah, just every time I hear that song now, I'm like, Dad showed me that. And yeah, it's nice to have that. He's still alive, by the way. Sorry. No.
I think
let's have that reminder of him. No, he's still here.
Just to throw it out there.
Yeah.
But no, I get you because like Stanton Girl, she's so lovely. That makes me think of my mum because I remember when I was really young, that and my mum saying to us like, "I swear this was written about you."
Yeah.
And like that's just a cute thing that a mum says to her daughter. Whereas however many years later, every time I hear it, I always giggle to myself because in my head I'm like, my mum thinks this was written for me.
Yeah.
Like, like that sort of thing. Same as My Grandma and My Girl by The Temptations. Whenever I hear that, I think of my grandma. Yeah. Like you do. You think of people like, I think that's why though as well, like you say, when you were saying before about songs that you associate with people or moments in your life, it's why after a breakup, sometimes it can be really hard to listen to some of your favorite music because it's been a shared band or a shared song or whatever.
Yeah.
And it takes a long ass time to be able to listen to it again and not have that like gut wrenching feeling over it.
There's nothing worse than when someone ruins a song for you because like they decided to infiltrate your love of that song and make it about them as well.
Yeah.
Selfish prick.
I've got a handful of songs like that actually that I'm like, ugh, like I just keep away from.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's some that like, you know, you learn to laugh about, like, you know, I highly doubt that you'll be familiar with this song, but there's a song by Bullet for My Valentine called Pretty on the Outside. And basically the whole song is about a girl who has just got a totally black heart, like heartless bitch, but really beautiful.
Yeah.
And when I was like 14, when that album hadn't been out long, someone said to me, that fucking song was written about you. And it took me a long ass time to be able to listen to that. Whereas now I hear it and I piss myself. And I absolutely wet myself laughing about it because I'm always like, oh, teenagers. Like, you know what I mean? Like teenage breakups, like fucking hilarious. But like for a long time that like affected us because especially if you are lyrically minded, if somebody sends you something and they go, this reminds me of you. If it's a nasty song, it's not nice at all. But in general, I think, I mean, the big thing for me is, you know, Demi Lovato is one of my all-time favourite singers.
Yeah.
Up there with Amy Winehouse and Escape the Fate. Like, but Demi Lovato, from just to bring it back to mental health, essentially, she is diagnosed BPD, or now EUPD, which is the same as what I have.
Yeah.
I believe she's also diagnosed bipolar, the same as me as well. But when I listen to her lyrics, they speak to me on a totally different level, and like they have done for a long ass time. And I mean, even her dad was an alcoholic, and I need to point out, not biological dad, but my dad was an addict. So, you know, there's some parallels there.
Yeah.
But then when you look at other music about what it's like to live with BPD, like there's a song called I Love Me, and the lyrics are literally, I wonder when I love me will be enough. And that just like, boom, straight in the chest every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Same with I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. That's about BPD splitting, where you go from bluntly, I hate you, but please don't leave me. Like, because I can't do this without you, because if you wait 10 minutes, I'll love you again. Like, that's how splitting works.
Yeah. And there's a key distinction there, isn't there, between like, you can appreciate music for like the objective quality of it, but then there's going to be certain artists that for different reasons you just connect with the most. So, like, I know that Led Zeppelin are probably one of the best bands that have ever come out of the UK, and I appreciate them for what they are, and they've got some fucking amazing songs, but like, I won't often listen to them because there's not that many kind of moods that I associate with their music that are kind of like, for me. Like, I might have, like, if the song comes on, I'll enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm much more likely to put on something from, I don't know, like Noel Gallagher or Arctic Monkeys, who are like objectively probably not as talented as Led Zeppelin were, but that's just the way music works. It's a personal thing. Also, as well, I'm talking about like personal relationship with music, but from a mental health perspective, from a wider societal thing, music's incredibly powerful at bringing like sometimes hold nations together.
Yeah.
Like, if you think the success of I don't know why I'm laughing. The success of "Candle in the Wind" after Princess Diana died. Like, that was like, everyone remembers that funeral and Elton John performing the song, and it's when a lot of people like shed tears. Like, even if they weren't really that bothered about the royal family in the first place, there was just something about this collective moment of expressing how we're feeling as a country. Happens like with football tournaments as well. Like, Oasis's "Stop Crying Your Heart Out" kind of came out, I think it was around about the time England got knocked out of the 2002 World Cup, I want to say. And that song, I don't know if it got to number one or it almost did, because everyone like bought into like, oh, that is encapsulating something that I'm feeling.
I went down Sweet Caroline, I can't lie. That was where my brain went when you first said that, because a little bit too young to remember Diana's funeral, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when was our funeral?
97.
Yeah, I was like 1.
Yeah.
Well, nearly 2. So that's like, it doesn't register in my brain.
Yeah, I was 9.
Sorry, I just like to take a moment to remind you that you're old as often as I possibly can.
And this is probably going to come up quite a lot because it's more because I'm into older music. It was what I was brought up on. So if you hear me say like, "Oh, have you heard about this band?" It's not because I lived through them. It's just they're just very good.
But to be fair, like there's obviously a lot of music that isn't in the time I've been alive that I love.
Yeah.
Like, I think you were quite surprised how much music you listen to that I know. Whereas I found that quite a lot of music that I listen to you don't know, but it's not. I've never really listened to a lot of mainstream music in general.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been more. Well, I've been 2 different sides. Brought up on one side on rock and roll, and like old school 80s, like, I'm talking Papa Natar into the 90s, Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, all that sort of stuff. And on the other side, Clubland, and dubs and house music, and like think rave. Like that kind of stuff. So my music taste is quite diverse. Like, basically, if I like it, I like it. I don't really care what anyone else thinks about it.
It plays an important part in your like development when you're younger. Like, I mean, I don't know if your school was the same, but like our school clearly had the divisions of like people who listen to goth music, and then like it was around about the time like the streets were coming out, so like all the chavs were like massively into the street. I mean, I love the streets, but
I'm determined. You've been a little chav your whole life, and like you're just determined that you're not. But anyway,
yeah. Well, like I said, I always got on very well with the chav. I had things to kind of talk about with. Yeah, and then like I remember mine was that there was me and a couple of like lads who I was friends with that were into like bands like the Jam and the Who and like this sort of like the mod scene, and it led to me going out and buying a Fishtail Parker coat. I mean, I would have had a scooter, but I wasn't allowed one. I just remember like I associate lots of like later year schools with going out listening to that sort of music. Like we went to a Jam tribute band, me and my mates. It was like one of the like best kind of live performances I've seen, even though it was just a tribute band. And then and you sort of you kind of use it to like navigate those difficult teenage years of like, who am I? What's my identity? Like, who do I want to be like involved and associated with? And stuff. And I think we both kind of caught the emo wave.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, I think for a while, like people frowned a little bit on emo music of like, oh, it's just a bunch of like middle class kids who are like pretending to be depressed as part of their personality. And you're like, no, like if you actually listen to someone who's been into emo music for a long time and like will talk about their favorite artists and their favorite lyrics, like that's a form of connection that I think a lot of people wouldn't even like have or kind of make sense of.
Sorry, a thought come in my head, and I went to get my phone so that I could pull the exact lyrics up, and then realised that my phone is currently there recording. Can you grab your phone for me, please? Because I want to get these lyrics right, but because these were the exact lyrics that. So when you say emo music and stuff, you know about being into different things. Like I was the one who was in, Slipknot and Bullet for My Valentine and Black Veil Brides and that sort of shit. But the very first time, and Paramore naturally, because sorry, I can't do both at the same time. Apologies. Here we go. So the first song I ever heard by Slipknot was "Wait and Bleed," and funny enough, actually, my development of love for emo music is how I now live with headphones in. So when I was younger, like with biological dad, and he used to be like, "Well, you bloody put your headphones in, like that bloomin' screamo crap." So naturally, because all I used to listen to was like Slipknot, I had headphones in time. Now I'm older, I always just have headphones in. I'm just so used to it. I mean, a mixture of that and the fact that as suffering with psychosis for years, headphones helped so much that it's just become a force of habit. But like literally, this is the first bit in Wait and Bleed. I felt the hate rise up in me, kneel down and clear the stone of leaves. I wander out where you can't see. Inside my shell, I wait and bleed. And I don't know what it was about that 13-year-old me just clung to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved from that to Dead Memories and went further and further and further into Slipknot, I just was like lyrically, and like people always say, like I have this conversation still now with people. People go, well, how do you even understand the lyrics? It's just noise. And I'm like, it's not. And you know how you know it's not? Because if you watch anybody who's been into Screamo for a long time and you put a song on that they love, they can go word for word even through the Screamo. Like Dead by April, for instance, Our Worlds Collide. That is without a doubt one of my all-time favourite songs by Dead by April.
Yeah.
And like there's the chorus is always, you know, normal singing, the rest Screamo. I can go word for word. You put that on because I know it because I've heard it that many times.
Yeah.
And it's like anything. Like when people go, how do you understand that? I'm like, right, okay, but I've heard you listen to MC, and how the fuck do you understand that? You understand it because you've heard it that many times because you enjoy it. So you've wanted to learn the lyrics the same way that I enjoy the Screamo, so I've learned the fucking lyrics.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But I mean, you know, it's similar in a way to comedy where there's it's like a vehicle for kind of going through and expressing thoughts and feelings that conventionally you're not supposed to. Like I remember, like pretty much peak emo scene when I was around was My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, I love My Chem.
I'm Not Okay. That is them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before I make a complete ass of myself. I'm Not Okay by My Chemical Romance. Like I remember, like so many people going like, "Oh God, what's that about?" Like, "No, I'm not okay." It's just people indulging in their like, you know, fabricated feelings. And it's like, no. What it is there's people there that have things that they don't know how to express because they've never been taught how to express them. And suddenly there's a band there, like with a title song, "I'm Not Okay." Obviously, it's gonna chime with you. You know?
Interesting you bring up My Chem because Famous Last Words by My Chemical Romance. That song saved my life. Without a doubt, that song saved my life. I am not afraid to keep on living. I am not afraid to walk this world alone. Yeah, I used to have that on, and even now when I get depressed, like when I feel it in my chest, where I'm like, it tends to be that moment where I have in my chest and I can feel my chest cleansing together of like, what are we doing? Just go kill ourselves. It's easier. Like it would be better for everybody if we were dead.
Yeah.
Like what am I trying to do here? The first thing you will see me do is put that on.
Yeah.
Because the moment that I hear that, it's like something in my brain goes, fucking got this.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I kind of did the very classically emo thing. I discovered like emo music around the time that my psychosis was being triggered. Now, obviously, naturally, I didn't fucking know what was going on. Nobody did. But then, obviously, people go like, "Oh, she's hurting herself because of the emo music. Oh, because look at the way she dresses and the way that the music. She's, no wonder she's hurting herself." Because there's the misconception that all emo music is about killing yourself or harming yourself, and it's not. It's actually about like how it's putting the feelings into words to be like, you know, you're not alone. Like you are not alone in this feeling, and that's what it is. When you hear a lyric that sums up how depressed you feel, all of a sudden, you know, you're not alone because you didn't fucking write that. Yeah.
It's not people cut themselves because they listen to emo music. It's like they listen to emo music because they cut themselves.
Kind of like, yeah, it's a way of explaining how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like anything. It's, well, why do you think love songs are so popular? Because when somebody feels a bit like, oh, I really like you, it's like, oh, you know. Well, I think was it Russell Howard who does this bit? I think it might be about mixtapes, right? Like the fact that nobody does this, or like, well, to my knowledge, nobody does this. I wouldn't exactly know these days, but like, you know, like obviously it used to be mixtapes, then it was burning CDs, and I would assume that now it's playlists and stuff on Spotify or like 70 songs. But it's like Russell Howard's got this bit where he's like, you know, mixtapes were great because it was like here are some songs, and these songs made me think of you, and I'm hoping that you hear these songs, and then maybe you will think of me. And I'm like, that's what music is. It's a shared thing. Like you're meant to. It's the same way that you say, like what was simple about associating songs with people. Like you do. If I hear an Oasis song, I associate Oasis with you because that's just because you like them.
There's a lot of people where if they hear Oasis, they think of me because I grew up with them. Yeah, one of my
but it's the same way that like there's a song by Bowling for Soup, 1985, and that always makes us think of me mum.
Yeah.
And it was because the first time she ever heard that song was obviously through me, and she like looked at us and went, "I feel attacked," and it's Debbie just hit the wall. She never had it all. One Prozac a day. Can I point out, just for the records, because I know she'll kill us, she is not and has never been on Prozac. But it's because obviously the whole song is about like all the way through there's references like, you know, she had her first kid at 24. My mum was 24 when she had me. Like, you know, her dreams went out the door when she turned 24, and she always says, you know, of course the dreams didn't go out the door. I love you more than anything. But I get like I'm not stupid enough to not understand the like nuances. Like there's loads of reasons that music can be helpful. Like I have a playlist specifically designed to make me cry. Because I can't cry. I'm not a crier. I don't do well with, I can feel the need to cry, and I know that I'll feel better if I let it out, and I can't do it. And the minute I start to cry, my brain goes, get a fucking grip. And I can't do it. So I will lock myself in the bathroom, because I also can't cry unless I'm behind a locked door. Even if I'm home alone, I have to lock myself behind the door. It's fucking weird. And I will sit with my headphones in with this playlist that is designed to make me cry on. Just purely because I need to let the emotion out, and the only way to let it out is through music.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned it already, but like if I'm going for a breakup, Amy Winehouse like will help me like channel in and unlock certain feelings that I don't want to necessarily like think about, but because she's saying them and putting them in her way, I'm like, makes me feel, it doesn't make me feel better necessarily, it just makes me feel less sort of clogged up emotionally.
Isn't it interesting how music can make you feel like think different things? Because I love Amy Winehouse in general, but if I'm going through some shit and I'm listening to Amy Winehouse, it's normally my way of telling myself that it's okay that I am ultimately going to be alone. Because there's a lot of her music and a lot of her life from, I mean, I'm a big Amy Winehouse fan, that resonates a lot. And I kind of, especially like Love is a Losing Game. You Know I'm No Good. Trying to think, there's another one as well. I'm trying to think.
There's Wake Up Alone. There's one that I often go to.
He Can Only Hold Her. That was the one I was thinking. Yeah, like they're all songs that like make me feel like it's okay if I end up alone. Like I say alone because I'm a very big believer in I'll never be alone. I have got my own selected family that I have picked to be my ride or dies. Like I'm never going to be truly alone, but I mean in the conventional sense of being alone.
But it's maybe it's she's an incredibly talented artist who has like different songs with different like messages and feelings. Like, but specifically, sorry, is Wake Up Alone. It's just that it's an indulgent song about that feeling of like you were with someone and they're not there anymore, and you're waking up alone, and like you're kind of keeping yourself busy throughout the day to try and like distract you, but as soon as the night comes, that's all you can think about, and it's fucking depressing. And like that's all that song needs to be. It's just a way of kind of channeling into that feeling, because that is how you're feeling. You know, the song isn't creating that feeling within you; it's the feelings in there. It's just, it needs right ability to sort of come out.
I feel like my equivalent of that, what is for you, is Pink, Long Way to Happy. One night to you lasted 6 weeks to me. All I need is a little pill now just to try and go to sleep. And then it goes on about like, you know, it's going to take a long time to love, it'll take a lot to move on, it's going to be a long, long way to happy. Like that, I feel like what you're describing, that's my version of that.
Yeah.
She's another one, Pink. Fucking phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, just in general, well, I mean, I'm very conscious that we're starting to repeat myself a bit here, so I've got a couple of questions, and I feel like one of them, I'm going to see if I'm a bit of words. There's one that pops into my head. What's your funeral song?
There's two, but the one I'd probably go for if I had to choose would be Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult, which is a fantastic message about, you know, like everyone is like, you know, in their own way is scared of like their own death and stuff, but it's like 40,000 people every day die, like we can be like them, Romeo and Juliet are together in eternity. It's like, just don't fear it. It's gonna happen. And if there's any message that I'd want to kind of get out there as part of my funeral, it would be that. What's yours?
So mine always, since I was 14, mine has always been Make Damn Sure by Taking Back Sunday. And it's, I'm going to make damn sure that you can't ever leave. No, you won't ever get too far from me. And that's always been my whole life exactly what I would have wanted played at my funeral.
Yeah.
But probably over the last few months especially, there's been some changes in my brain that have kind of gone, actually, that isn't probably the song that I would want anymore. And it would have to be Demi. It's gonna have to be Demi. But then it starts to go down the route of like, but which Demi song speaks the most to us? Yeah. And probably, because I mean, my brain goes to Dancing with the Devil. However, if I did ever die from some form of overdose, then Dancing with the Devil, please, because it's just appropriate as fuck. Yeah, just you know. Don't worry, I'll put in my will instructions. But there's I don't know, because I think a lot of mine would depend on context, because, as you know, I like to be a pain in the ass. Like, you know, if I was to kill myself, then anyone by Demi Lovato, because that whole song is basically like, why is nobody listening to me? Yeah. So if I ever top myself, that's the song that needs played at my funeral, just as a big fuck you. But it's there, you know, when you can feel it in the back of your head. Like, I know the name of the song, I know which song I'm thinking of, and it's just not coming out my mouth. And I know it's a Demi song.
I know this is, if I killed myself, I'd want, I wasn't expecting that. I can't remember who does it, but.
Fuck. I feel like I asked you a question that, like, I knew my answer to, and then changed my mind. Like, changed my mind while you were talking. I was like, actually, I don't want to. No, that isn't the song that I would want played at my funeral.
If you'd like to tell us in the comments what your funeral song is, please do so.
Oh, seriously, like, I would be so intrigued by what people's funeral songs are. Like, I feel like that's not a question that enough people ask, because, you know, like, in all seriousness, I know this is a bit morbid, but, like, anything can happen to you any day.
Yeah.
Like, people should know what you would want. Like, it's perfectly okay. And you know what it is? What I'm really not about, I know the moment that we stop recording, I'm going to remember what song I'm thinking of.
Yeah, well, we can do add it on to the end.
Yeah, you can just put it in writing, like, she remembered it's this one. Do you know what it is? Literally all I need to do is look at Demi Lovato on Spotify and my brain will go, that's the one.
And drop the fidget toy as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're giving me a fidget toy, but it's now on the floor.
While you're trying to remember, there's something I wanted to circle back to, where the whole, like, emo thing is quite similar. So there's, like, music gets used by certain people in society to, like, cover over or, like, not talk about what we really need to be talking about. So as a kid, one of the biggest things, like, biggest news stories I remember was the Columbine school massacre.
Yeah.
And, like, it was a whole nation of people trying to figure out, like, what's going on, like, why are your kids, and, you know, the fact that they're still doing is fucking depressing as well. But, like, one of the things that got flouted was, well, they were listening to Marilyn Manson before they did it. And it's like, it's such an easy, like, excuse to like, not have to talk about society and societal norms, and how, like, young people in America, what they're kind of exposed to from, like, popular culture, and how that is obviously going to fuck a lot of people up.
Substance.
There you go.
Thanks. Sorry. Do you know what? That's my favourite Demi song. Substance by Demi Lovato.
Fantastic. Yes, I'm glad.
I love the double entendre in that as well. I'm so sorry, but it just popped back into my head.
No, I mean, the point of that was to help you remember. So maybe not.
Yeah, because the double entendre in that, because obviously she's an ex-addict, and the whole song is like, it's am I the only one looking for substance?
Yeah.
And the whole song you can so see like that. It's like it's both sides of it. Like looking for substances in like depth in relationships and depth within who I am as a person, and in the same breath of because nobody else is helping me look like do this, and nobody else is looking for this either. I'm now looking for substances to use to numb this pain.
Yeah.
Like it's like that whole thing, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I know what you mean about like emo music being used as a way of like, oh, it's violent. It's the same with video games and stuff, man. It's
they will literally use ADHD as they can without actually talking about what we really need to be talking about.
Like, you know, everyone's fucking mental health. Because I'm not even going down the whole gun control thing. Literally, just if we dealt with people's fucking mental health.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Well, that's the key point, isn't it? It's like music is a reflection. It's a mirror of how people are feeling. We don't like music isn't necessarily something that's going to come up and make you feel things that you haven't previously felt. Like you're just naturally going to gravitate to the artists that talk about things like the way you see them.
I think the funny thing with music as well is, and I mean, again, I like both divides essentially.
Yeah.
Obviously, I attend a lot of like emo gigs, mosh pits, that kind of thing. I've never been hurt at an emo gig. I've never had guys speak to me inappropriately, nothing. I've never had a bad experience at an emo gig. And there's rules to a mosh pit. You know, if someone goes down, you get them back up, like that sort of shit. There's some very big rules. Like it's it's just gig etiquette essentially. So a couple of years ago when N-Dubs did their reunion tour, I'd seen N-Dubs twice when I was younger, and I love N-Dubs. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I got concussion at that gig because I took a dig. I got punched in the back of the head, like literally because these girls were hammered and thought my friend was looking at them funny. And I got punched in the back of the head out of it and ended up with concussion. I've been in the middle of mosh pits and I've been in the middle barrier at Bullet for My Valentine and had people coming over my head and never been hurt. And even like when that, like if you're in a mosh pit or if you're at barrier and you're not in the pit and someone gets knocked into you straight away, they're like, "Whoa, are you okay? I'm so sorry." And you're like, "Don't be fucking sorry. I'm like stood next to a mosh pit. I'm not an idiot." But like, it's just and I know that you shouldn't generalize, but generally speaking, like alternative guys, especially like if I'm in trouble in the street and there's an alt looking guy and a chavvy looking guy, I'm going up to the alt guy for help. Like, and I know you shouldn't say that, but like it's the truth because I've never had bad experiences.
You know what, Vera? I got talking to one of these young emo guys, and they were as nice as part. Can I tell you a traumatic story from my past? About to get serious.
It's not actually.
No, it's no. So I was in a band when I was 17, and I was like lead guitarist. So I had solos that I kind of put in different parts of songs, and like the purpose was like to please the audience in a way. And there was this gig that was going really well. Like it's probably the biggest like gathering of people we had watching us, and it got to this point where the song kind of like initially sort of breaks down and then builds back up and then hits you again. And when it's supposed to hit you again, is like the first note of my guitar solo. I never felt like I've let people down more so than this group of people watching us, ready to mosh, waiting for the start of my guitar solo to stop. Fucking missed the first note of it, and it just felt like, I mean, I don't know, like maybe like they didn't even notice it, but I just
but inside you like went
ground to swallow me.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah, there's nothing worse. I think a lot of the time that's the kind of thing though where you do yourself a disservice in your head because nobody else knew that note existed.
Yeah, exactly.
You on stage did, but like nobody else did, so it was fine.
Yeah. Probably a load of kids there going like, "Oh, if you just started this guitar solo there, that would have been amazing." I was like,
I mean, to be fair, I still think that you need to find some. I know that you said that they don't exist, but I 100% need to see or hear music from your band at some point.
It genuinely does not exist. Like the only chance you're going to get of hearing my band is if like deep in the back of my garage in my parents' house there's still the EP that we burnt like 20 years ago, but I don't know.
Well, if there is, and if that was burnt on CD, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm one of the few people remaining who has a CD player. I've got two actually. I've got one in my bedroom and one in my living room.
Don't get me wrong, if I come across it, I'm happy to show it to you. But
I 100% need to see or hear this.
Yeah, because we were on. Obviously, it was around the time MySpace was big, so a lot of our stuff was on MySpace.
Yeah.
But even then, I think you can still find our page, but it's just one very blurry picture of the lead singer and links to the songs that don't take you anywhere. It's kind of depressing anyway. Yeah.
I think a lot of people though, like I remember being younger and like loads of my friends were like in bands. I wrote music and things like that. I've never been able to play. I can kind of play the drums, but I've never really been one to play instrument. I have got no hand-eye coordination, like at all. I can't. Like I'm fucking useless. And I sound like a strangled cat when I sing. So, you know, like just never really been me. I will just be an appreciator of the arts rather than an artist.
You've got the look about you that you can probably just get away with being on stage, like tapping a tambourine against your leg, like Stevie Nicks style, just without the singing.
But just, I don't know. I've always loved music. I love when people say it was, I'm in a band or I used to be in a band. I'm like, I need to like hear, because like you just said, it comes from a place of like, I feel like music's a way of understanding. Like it's understanding the things that people don't want to say out loud about themselves. You know, we all have like guilty pleasure music, essentially. Like for instance, I absolutely love High School Musical songs, especially from High School Musical 3. Like Scream from High School Musical 3. Fucking love it. Like,
I'm nodding like I know what you're talking about.
Hannah Montana, Disney Channel songs, Camp Rock, all of them. They are like, without a doubt, my guilty pleasure songs. I love them. I think they're fucking great.
Yeah.
But I would never like, I was going to say I would never tell anyone that, but hello.
I'm far more interested in hearing what people's guilty pleasures are than their actual taste in music, because I'm just like, why do you think it's a guilty pleasure? Like, why are you not open about it? Like, what is it? And like mine is, well, I don't know. I've got a few actually. But again, because I'm like a bit older and more like mature and like self-assured and stuff, like a lot of the stuff I used to call guilty pleasure, I'm just like, I just like it because it's a good song.
Yeah.
Like early 80s Madonna, fucking amazing. Some of those songs that came out.
Yeah.
Not something you admit to listen to if you're a 14-year-old lad on the playground, but you know, I'm glad that I can openly say that I enjoy Madonna's early work.
Yeah. But I suppose, like, I would now...
Like a Prayer, what a song. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, about a song.
Although that song, American Psycho's kind of ruined that song for me. I don't know if you've read or seen American Psycho, but you'll know what I mean if you do.
No, I haven't. But yeah, like, I think now I would quite willingly say, like, Miley Cyrus, Seven Things. That was like a staple when I was younger. Like, that song came out the first time, just before or just after, it might have been just after the first time I'd ever had my heart broken. And like that song was belter. It's literally just like this. It's 7 things I hate about you. Like you're vain, you're immature, like all that sort of shit. And then like the 7th thing I hate the most that you do, you make me love you. Like it's just a really. It was, and I mean she's like around my age as well. So like I think she was a couple of years older. She was a couple of years older than me. So it's like, you know, it's the teenage heartbreak. So as a teenage girl, when there's a teenage girl singing about heartbreak, you vibe more. Whereas I also was, you know, emo and I listened to Slipknot and like all this shit. So I was never going to turn around and go, yeah, I love Miley Cyrus, me, because I was embarrassed. Whereas as an adult, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I love Miley Cyrus. Like the song, What the Fuck Do I Know? Fantastic. She's just as good now as she was back then. But yeah.
It's nothing like listening to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 on your way to work as well. You're like, yeah, Dolly understood. So this is, I just, because we're doing an episode about music and mental health, I just wanted to bring up this little known facts that people might have heard of. So Nirvana had a song called I Hate Myself and I Want to Die that like perfectly encapsulates like that, the grunge movement of the early 90s and stuff. And Oasis's Live Forever was kind of inspired by the fact that Noel heard that song, or I don't know if he heard the song or just heard the title of it and thought, I don't want kids listening to that. Like it's, it's too depressing. Like music should be about positivity and moving forward and stuff. So obviously like Live Forever kind of came off the back of that. And like, I'm not necessarily casting an opinion about that because I think there's room for both.
Yeah.
Like music can do both. But yeah, I think that's interesting. It's like artists clearly have a certain sense of like, I know this music is going to reach a lot of people. What message do I want to put out there? What am I sort of trying to say? Yeah. And again, it's very common for especially parents, to take a big interest in what their kids are listening to because they want to know what's going on with them mentally, and like it's easier sometimes to listen to the songs they're listening to than to ask them directly how they're feeling.
I think my mum got that down really well without me ever realising what she was doing. So I mean, it helped my mum's music. My mum likes rock, and she used to. I always joke and say she is the only parent in the world. So I would be in my bedroom with my music on, and she would shout, like scream up to us, and I would open my door and go, "What?" And she'd be like, "Right, you know the drill. Either open your door or turn it up so I can hear it. I don't care which one." Like, because she always used to say, you listen to it in a really awkward volume where I can't listen to anything down here because I can still hear yours. But I like your music, so just turn it up or like open your door so that I can hear it. And like we used to listen to like Bowling for Soup a lot, or like she does like a lot of the kind of music that I liked in general. So it was always helpful, but she was very interested in the kind of music that I liked. And I think she probably understood me more than she ever let on. Because the teenage angst of I don't want to talk to my parents, but she understood me a lot more than she would ever have let on.
Because you see, there's been some high profile cases where parents have like tried to sue bands after their children have killed themselves because they're just convinced that it's the music they were listening to that sort of caused that. It's difficult. There was I can't remember. I probably should have looked this up before I started talking about it. But there was a band, I think I'm going to say 70s. It's like they got taken to court because somebody, I can't remember if they killed themselves after listening to the song. And I think they were talking about it on QI, and they were talking about like the lyrics of the song. And Stephen Fry was like, "Yeah, but there's nothing inherently in there." And then Phil Jupitus was like, "Yeah, but the song was called Suicide Solution." Is that?
But you could argue that about anything, so again, just to come back to Miley Cyrus, so my suicide song, since I was 14 years of age, because that is, I was severely depressed from a very young age, is Simple Song by Miley Cyrus. She is, without a doubt, not someone who you would think wrote a song that I listen to and like think, if I ever killed myself, this would be the song I'd have playing in the background. Because it's fucking Miley Cyrus. It's bastard Hannah Montana, man. Come on. Like, that's not the association you would make. But it's about what you find in someone's music. Like, you can write a song about anything and someone can see it. It's about how it was interpreted. Like, Simple Song is literally starts off with wake up, here we go, cram it all down my throat, stomach so full that I wish I could choke, 7 a.m. and my head's already in a spin. As soon as I'm out that door, bam, it hits me like a ton of bricks. I thought I could keep going, then I can't. But it's like basically the whole song, like the chorus is like, just all I want to do is make everything stop so that all I can hear is la 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 la, a simple song. And it's about basically how everything's so chaotic all the time. I just need it all to fucking stop. And like that was a teenage girl singing about what it's like being a teenage girl. And that's the sort of shit that like I had that on repeat in my headphones all the time, which all it would have taken would have been for someone to have listened to that song and gone, hang on, she listens to that on repeat at the age of 14, that's probably a bit concerning. But actually what everybody was way more concerned about was Wait and Bleed by Slipknot. When actually that song used to make me go like, right, okay, I'm good, I'm up, I'm ready, I can do this, I've got this, like, I'm okay with it. And it's like, like, sometimes looking at the lyrics of things means more than, because you would just associate, like if you said, I have a song that makes me think, hey, I can get up and accomplish anything today, and a song that makes me think, if I ever kill myself, this is what I'm going to have playing in the background. One of them's by Miley Cyrus and one of them's by Slipknot. Which one's which? Your instant reaction is going to be, well, Slipknot's this one. Like, but it wasn't. It was the other way around.
I remember watching a documentary on John Lennon, and there was footage of, so he had basically someone who was stalking him for a while and was like essentially had like pitched up tent outside of his house, and like John decided just to go and speak to him, and it's like, what's going on with you? Like, why are you here? And it's because this guy he'd listened to I Am the Walrus by the Beatles, which is pretty much just a nonsense song, really. But he'd like analysed the lyrics so much and was convinced that there were like messages in the song that John wanted people to know. So he was like telling him, like, I understand what you mean by this line. And like you could just see John's like reaction of like, you know, and I mean he was really nice about it, really understanding about it, and it's like, look, you know, music, you can make sense of it individually. I mean, same lyric means different things to different people, and it's okay. That's the kind of like extreme example of it, I suppose. But yeah, like lyrics can be interpreted.
But I mean, if you kind of stuck down that sort of route about interpretation, so obviously, again, psychosis sufferer, there's a lot of music that helps me through psychosis. Monster, by Skillet.
Oh,
by what?
I was going to say Imagine Dragons.
No, I've never heard that song before until you showed us that Daniel Bryan video. I've literally, I probably have heard the song, but I've never paid attention to what it is. But no, Monster by Skillet. I must confess that I feel like a monster. Same as Psycho in My Head by Skillet again. Really, really good song. There's quite a few songs that when you look at like the band and that, and like if you know a bit about the band, it's clearly not written about psychosis, but it's written about like being trapped in your own head, and like, you know, we all know about the little demon in the back of your head who tells you things that aren't true. It's kind of about that, but like because I'm a psychosis sufferer, I've interpreted it as like the voices in my head. Yeah. Like, you know, and bluntly, like music is 100% the reason that I'm alive. It is like there's multiple songs throughout my life that at certain points in my life have saved my life because it's given us just that little bit of fire. Like when that fire in the pit of my stomach's been so close to going out, it's been that little gust of air that makes it roar again. And the thing with it is that it can do that to you, but it can also obviously do everything else. And different things need different. I think just don't fucking, again, I know the saying all the time, but just don't judge people for their taste in music. Like a lot of the time your music taste is, well, you know, certain songs, especially if you care about them, right? Again, this happened last year. Someone that I care about in my life, and I had always said music is a really good way to express yourself when you can't say it. And I think this is a big thing for men, right? And I'm very well aware I'm a woman, so please tell me to shut up if I go too far here. But don't tell us to go make you a sandwich. I
was getting quite hungry.
Yeah, well, go make your own. But it's a good way to tell, if you don't know how to put into words how you're feeling and you're going through something, you could say it to somebody who you care about. I can't put this into words, but listen to this. This is it. And I used to say all the time, like, if you can't talk to me and you can't talk to anyone else, just send us songs that, like, you know, will help. That'll help us understand. And they always used to say, like, it's just music, like, it doesn't mean anything, like, it's just words, like, I don't view music the way you do. And then eventually, one day, they were like, yeah, you're right, I'm not okay. And here you go. And they put a song by an artist called NF on. I don't know if you've heard of NF. But put a song, Hope, by him on, and broke down crying to us and was like, I need help. And I'm like, there it is. But like, you know, like that's the sort of shit that I mean. Like if you're suffering and you, especially if you live in a world of music, you're recognizing that you're starting to listen to the same songs and repeat things like, if you feel uncomfortable going to someone saying, hey, I need help, or like I need these things, go to someone you trust and go and just say, I don't know how to say it. Please, can you listen to this and pay attention?
I suppose, because if you're scrolling through Instagram and someone has put a post with song lyrics in it, and especially if they don't normally do that, like that person obviously isn't confident enough to come out and say, I need to speak to you, but it may be an indication. So it may just be like just sending a quick DM back to them saying like, oh, that's a cool song, like I remember listening to that, like what's going on with you at the minute? Might be all they need to start talking.
I mean, people just, I quite often post on Instagram like what I'm listening to and stuff like that. I mean, 9 times out of 10 there's nothing cryptic about that. It's just this is the music that I like. But when I was younger, especially, like, you know, when I didn't have the confidence that I have now, it was a lot of like cryptic messages in the lyrics I used to post and stuff like that, because you know, teenage girl, like, but what you're listening to really does sum up how you're feeling. Like, and I think, considering both of us have trailed off on our last 2 sentences, that's a nice way of saying that we're wrapped up for the day.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll visit this again at some point because music's such a great topic to talk about. But,
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing as well. I'm very conscious that if we start sidetracking, we could talk about music for the next like 24 hours and we still have shit to do today. So, yeah.
Great stuff. Well, don't be a dick. Beat you to it again.
I was going to say, I thought I'd let you say it this time.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.